Good. So today, it's a treat because yesterday I mentioned about the Dāna Mahāpphala Sutta, the different ways of making offering. So I translated that, and we're going to be going through that. I go after suttas that are so beautiful, but they are neglected. The Lord Buddha spent a great deal of time giving discourse after discourse after discourse. Yesterday, it just happened that I gave 2 discourses and I felt so exhausted and drained. But you read the suttas, and Lord Buddha or Venerable Sariputta or the other chief disciples, sometimes they would give one Dhamma talk after another in a single day. It's just, it's so inspiring. And here is one. And could you get water, please? Thank you. So this is coming from the Anguttara Nikāya, which are the numerical discourses, book of the sevens, sutta number 52. It is the Dāna Mahāpphala Sutta. Phala means fruit. Phala. And Maha means great. Dāna is the offering that we do. Dāna has different meanings, of course, like different types of offering, of course, as you know. It could be generosity with your time. Generosity, usually people think of generosity with your money, usually. Something to do with actual, tangible things like currency and things, or food. Well, if you don't have food, you can't have, without money, you can't have food. You need the pineapple. How do you get the pineapple? You have to buy it. Well, how do you get to buy it? How do you get the money? You have to work for it. So you get the idea. So the highest form of dana, Lord Buddha says, is Dhamma. Don't always consider that Dhamma must first come from someone in robes. That's why some of you I've seen again and again over the years, you're getting a lot of Dhamma. Don't keep it. Don't hold it in. Share every once in a while with others. Even if it feels like, well, they're not going to listen to me, it's going to be embarrassing, or they're not going to appreciate it as much as I do. Don't worry about that. Even if you say the thing that I keep annoying people with, smile to someone. There you go. That might pull someone out of their misery. What do you think that is? Dhamma doesn't just mean the Buddha's teachings. Yes, it's a reflection. It's used, a definition. But Dhamma also means the truth, the principle, the underlying fact about life, the order of things. All of it, truth. The person who is frowning is not living the truth of the moment. They are completely submerged in their own thoughts and fears. So by you coming and being generous with what you learned, telling the person, by the way, you have a beautiful face. Stop messing it up. Smile. Show it. Stop hiding it. Well, if I smile, they're going to think I'm crazy. Well, let them think crazy. And see what happens. How do you feel when you're doing this? Is simply one example. Others might ask us, well, what is the Dhamma? What is Buddhism? Lord Buddha had given, and his students have given many examples. Do things that give you joy, that you like to be done to you. Don't do things that give you harm, leave you empty, pain. Sometimes they're flipped. Sometimes they say, don't do this, don't do the negative, the akusala, and do the kusala. It doesn't matter. The order doesn't matter. And then the third one, purify the mind. That's all. Even if the person looks down upon Buddhism because they have only their own conjectures. When you travel a lot like I do, you see a lot of weird interpretations of Buddhism. So I have to really hold myself back from saying that's just nuts, what you're saying. How many books did you read on Buddhism? Where did you get that? But I have to be compassionate. And I say these three things and they go, really? You don't worship? Buddha is not a god? No. These are gods. Well, might as well just show them so that here's the 31 layers. Yes. There's a picture of this, obviously, online, and 31 layers of existence. And we happen to be right here. Manusaloka. Manusa means man or humankind. Manusaloka. Not just on this planet, of course, but in different galaxies in different parts of the world. I'll ask if you like. I'll ask if they can. Dhammadina could email whoever wants it a copy of it. It's freely available online. You can look it up on Google as well. Fortunately, it's beautifully done. It's beautifully done, and it's in different languages. I love that. So, but I get sidetracked. So, Dāna Mahāpphala Sutta. I wonder why it's making that. Okay, there it goes. The Anguttara Nikāya, Book 7, Sutta number 52. At one time, the Blessed One was living at the bank of the Gaggara lotus pond at Champa. Then a great number of lay disciples from Champa approached the Venerable Sariputta, paid their respects, and then sat to one side and said, Bhante, it has been too long since we heard a discourse on the Dhamma from the Blessed One himself. It would indeed be wonderful for us to listen to yet another discourse on the Dhamma from the Blessed One. In that case, friends, come to the next full moon's Uposatha day, and you will undoubtedly hear another discourse on the Dhamma from the Blessed One himself. It was a significant day. We didn't practice the Uposatha in the early days of the Sasana. Many of the things that we adopted, the Vassa, the Uposatha, this and that, they were already in place and seen in other traditions at the time of Lord Buddha. And Lord Buddha, being a very practical person and a teacher, he saw the value of what this was doing to the community. He saw how lay people were already enjoying dressing up differently, becoming more austere, practicing their sila much more carefully, and being ready and primed for the practice. So Lord Buddha saw that this is a wonderful mechanism, and he adopted it as well, with minor differences here and there. So many times people don't understand that the Vassa that we have, starting usually from July, it's actually something that we adopted as well, because lay people came and complained, because the number of lay people was growing. Buddhist lay people, upasakas and upasikas, was growing, and many of them had been in practice. So every fortnight they would come to the temple and nothing was going on. And they went, Bhante, when we were Jain, or when we were a follower of this teacher, we used to do this. And Lord Buddha sees how these are the supporters. Because of them, they were eating every day. And the temple was growing, and there was food, and there was protection. And they were coming to listen truly, genuinely to the Dhamma. And he says, okay, we can also have that. Boom, we had the Uposatha. So it was a wonderful time for Dhamma talks as well, whether Lord Buddha was there that night in the Vihara or other bhikkhus were. in that case also, becoming delighted, okay, so in that case, blessed one, becoming delighted with this news, those lay disciples arose from their seats and after paying their respects to the Venerable Sariputta, circumambulated while keeping him to their right and went away. Keeping him, sometimes they don't even use the translator circumambulate. When they say keeping him to the right, because this side is the clean side, right? So traditionally, when people ate in Asia, or still do in Sri Lanka, India, here, elsewhere, I've noticed as well, they would eat with the right hand because the left is considered dirty for obvious reasons. So that also is a very old tradition. So out of respect to when you're saying goodbye to a teacher or someone you respect, they would walk towards the right. But in the case of a Buddha or an enlightened being that really took on a special character, now they started to circumambulate. That's why when we go to a stupa, a pagoda, where you have the remains or the relics of a great teacher, like Lord Buddha, naturally we have to walk in, sometimes you can't help it, I notice. You walk around the pagoda, the shrine. So that's also a very old tradition that humans have. So that's what they did, and they went away. On the next full moon's Uposatha day, those lay disciples again approached the Venerable Sariputta, and after paying homage to him, kept standing as they waited for him. Because he had promised Lord Buddha would give them the talk, they're like, okay, Bhante. Then the Venerable Sariputta, together with those lay disciples, went to the Blessed One, and after paying their respects, they all sat to one side. And then the Venerable Sariputta said to the Blessed One, Bhante, could there be a situation in which a gift that, when offered by someone, would turn out to be without much benefit at all, proving itself fruitless, whereas when a gift of a similar value is offered by someone else, could in fact result in the highest benefits by becoming a great fruitful gift? Sariputta, there could indeed be a situation in which a gift that, when offered by someone, would turn out to be without much benefit at all, proving itself fruitless. Whereas when a gift of a similar value is offered by someone else, could in fact result in the highest benefits by becoming a great fruitful gift. This is a formula that you see in almost all suttas, including if it's coming from a chief disciple, where a person asks a question, and the whole question is, in a sense, repeated in preparation for the answer to come. Remember, we have the suttas today because of recitations, repetitions, memory monks. Now, the formula of reciting, especially in Pali, it is formulated in a way where it flows out. So it becomes easier when you don't ask the question once, when you don't repeat the question, or you don't say the question once, but you repeat it once or twice or more sometimes. Because it settles in the mind much better. In my own limited capacity as a high school teacher, I used to see that how teenagers, for example, really would understand the question better and answer it better when I wrote it on the wall, on the whiteboard. And then they would, some of the students would really get annoyed because they would say, oh, 10 or something. They give a very short answer, brief, boom. I would say, no. Go back and write the sentence starting with the portion of the question, you know. And I love that some other teachers had been doing that. Now less than before. because the person will remember it better, the content and the context. And what, so Lord Buddha just responded to Sariputta, and now Sariputta is speaking. And what, Bhante, could be the reason for this? What are the causes and conditions for a gift offered by someone would turn out to be without much benefit at all, proving itself fruitless, whereas when a gift of a similar value is offered by someone else, could in fact result in the highest benefits by becoming a great fruitful gift? That's the third time. But now, Venerable Sariputta is saying, and how, Bhante? Remember, he's the one who first started the question. How is it that a gift of same value that someone else is giving, for one person it becomes fruitless, but for the other person it becomes fruitful? And then Lord Buddha says that same question, yes, and now Sariputta is repeating it. So you can see the mechanism in the background, what's happening beyond the sutta, the ones who are reciting through the centuries. That's why we owe so much to these monks, so much, even though there's been mistakes, because it's inevitable. Here, Sariputta, consider someone who makes offerings but does so much like an investment, expecting rewards and a hefty return for the gifts he has made, for him to enjoy in the future. Being deeply stingy and attached to whatever he considers to be his, who decides to make offerings while reasoning to himself, once I am no more in this body, all this I am offering now will come back to me. That's how he's thinking, or she's thinking. In this way, he makes offerings of food and drinks to recluses and religious practitioners, in addition to providing them with clothing, carriages, flower garlands, like leis, if in Hawaii or in India, they still do, because that's a very respectful gesture that you're showing to someone. Incense, because they were expensive, ointments, beds, lodgings, and oil lamps. But while his heart is bound up with expectations of accumulating their rewards. Sometimes people, always want, not sometimes, always, well, often, shall we say, people, when they give a gift, let's say you give a gift, Lord Buddha did not stop and do a whole chanting to you when you offered him an apple or something, a banana. He would just take it. That's it. And so did the Arahants, oftentimes. And sometimes they would feel like saying a few words. Well, guess what? We are by nature very much attached to rites and rituals. So one time Lord Buddha takes the food without saying a word, and the next time you give him something, he says a few words. Let's say he would say Sambitya Vivajjana, something like that. Okay. The third time, you offer him a jug of water. Lord Buddha takes it and walks away. What is your mind going to say? Well, what was that? Why didn't he say something? Did I not get the merits from this? What if I'm offering him a temple? Like Anathapindika. He gave his whole entire wealth to get a portion of that park, not even the whole park, Jeta's park. Did he demand, okay, Bhante, now let's hear, you need to at least chant for 3.5 months, because I gave my wealth. People are people, So it is not a matter of the other person saying or doing things, but we like rites and rituals, right? It is more important to think about you as you're giving it. That's where the treasure is, the real treasure. It's not what you're giving. It's how you're giving it. That is key, as we're going to see as we move on into the sutta. Now, Sariputta, and Lord Buddha is going to check, as is normal, as customary for him. Now, Sariputta, do you know of situations where people make such offerings, where they treat it as an investment? Yes, Bhante, because he's had his experiences with this. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings but does so by treating it as some kind of an investment, expecting rewards and a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future. Being deeply stingy. Stingy, you know what it is. Miserly. This is mine. I'm not going to share it with you. That mentality. And attached to whatever he considers to be his, who decides to make offerings while reasoning to himself, once I am no more in this body, all this I am offering now will come back to me. Then at the breakup of the body, after death, they are reborn in the company of the heavenly realm of the four guardian kings, Chatu Maharajika, which is right above the Manusaloka, right next door to us. And that's where you also find the Nagas and the Yakhas, Devas, of course. But these are lower level Devas compared to higher Devas. So the life over there is much longer and there's much enjoyment compared to human life. That's why Nagas can live for a long time, Yakhas can live for a long time, Devas in this realm. So, and Gandambas are there too, and Kumbhandas. So, but Lord Buddha says, at the expiration of the merits of the kamma of those gifts, when they expire, like credit, you can't keep enjoying it indefinitely. They run out. When the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they come back to this realm or lower. Further, Sariputta, consider someone else who makes offerings but does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future. Excuse me. Nor does he reason to himself, once I am no more in this body, all this I am offering now will come back to me. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking that giving it itself is a wonderful thing. To give is a good thing. They just have that. It's like very cognitive, a thought. But it's still much better than treating it as, well, I'm going to, what's my return? ROI, right? Return on investment. In this way, he makes offerings of food and drinks to recluses and religious practitioners, in addition to providing them with clothing, etc. The same thing. But without his heart being bound up with an expectations of accumulating any rewards. So he doesn't care that much. It's just giving is good, he's saying. Now, Sariputta, do you know of situations where people make such offerings? Yes, Bhante, he says. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings but does so by treating it as some kind of, not treating it as some kind of investment. So Lord Buddha is now repeating. And these are the things that oftentimes new translators put ... to. Well, it's a repetition. We don't have to read this. We don't have to repeat this. But there's a point that Lord Buddha is making by saying this. It's not just for the reciters. It's also for us to remember. Neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy it in the future. Nor does he reason to himself, once I am no more in this body, all this I am offering now will come back to me. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking that giving in itself is a wonderful thing. Then, at the breakup of the body, this is the second type. After death, they are reborn in the various Deva realms. But at the expiration of the merits of the kamma of those gifts, when the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they come back to this realm or even lower. So Chatu Maharajika is right over here. Think of it as realm number 6. And the level of giving, of donating, of offering things selflessly, in a sense, takes you higher and higher. The gods of Tavatimsa, where King Sakka is, the king of the gods, Indra, was formulated in a sense, or the 33 gods showed up because of their enormous metta-filled actions. For a long time, Lord Buddha says in the suttas, Sakka and a group of 33 of them, basically, young lads who were healthy, this and that, they decided to help a community, a large community, selflessly. Sometimes they would go hungry, building bridges, building schools, building homes for the homeless. Selflessly, all 30 plus of them. Now, it so happened that they died. When they died, all of them ended up in the 33, Tavatimsa heaven. That's the position that there is, that's occupied in a sense. And it's a position of Sakka. Sakka could be different beings, but once the position is expired, think of it as the CEO of a company. Once the CEO expires, the term or death, the CEO position is not left empty. They look for someone of the same qualifications, all right? So the positions of these gods are like that. I gave the example of Sakka, but Sakka has many other gods underneath him, right? They each have a special position, each with their own qualities. So the quality of the heart is number one when you're talking about Deva realms. It's not just what you know, but how you live your life. That's the key, just like it is in this life. But many of us get away with it, thinking that I'm smart, I'm going to outsmart the system, this and that. Well, fortunately, the rest of the 31 layers of existence don't follow that method. That's why we are far lower than any of the gods, because we try to outsmart each other. Whoever can get away with it gets away with it. And sometimes you're never caught. You're so powerful that no one can touch you. Well, guess what? Yama, God will touch you. His lower drags you down. Death, God of death, think of it. Now we're going to talk about the third. This is the book of the seven. So Lord Buddha is listing 7 types of dana. So we get to number 3. Further, Sariputta, consider someone else who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future. Nor does he reason to himself, giving in itself is a wonderful thing. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking. Giving and generosity was something practiced by my parents and forefathers. Therefore, I should not abandon this old family tradition. So basically, it's almost like compulsory, like I have to. It's a family tradition. I must do it. And I see this a lot in Asia, where people do it, and sometimes not with a good place. Many people do it from a good place, from their heart. But usually when you dig deep enough, it's like, yeah, whatever. I'm doing this because it's the vasa or it's this, and it's a tradition, and I don't want to disappoint my grandmother or something. Okay, you're respecting your grandmother more than the dana, which is good, but still it could be better. So in this way, he makes offerings and food and drinks to recluses and religious practitioners, etc., but without his heart being bound up with any expectations of accumulating any rewards. Now, Sariputta, do you know about situations where people make such offerings? Yes, Bhante. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future, nor does he reason to himself, giving in itself is a wonderful thing. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, giving in generosity is something practiced by my parents and forefathers. Therefore, I should not abandon this old family tradition. Then, at the breakup of the body after death, they are reborn in the various Deva realms. Again, anything above human. And anything above human is a wonderful thing. Wonderful, wonderful thing. You have less chances of experiencing pain. More and more and more opportunities to experience pleasure. You rarely will come across a Deva who is sad. Let me just say that. The Devas don't need to be convinced of smiling. So they don't have somebody like me telling them over their shoulder, hey, why don't you smile? There's so much. But Devas can be getting bored as well. And even though time passes by very quickly, for that reason, many Devas would come to Lord Buddha to hear the Dhamma. That's why we have the Mangala Sutta yesterday. If you remember that youthful god who came to the Deva. So I'm sorry, I left it there. But at the expiration of the merits of the karma of those gifts, when the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they come back to this realm. Earlier, I was talking about metta and how if you practice it in the way that other traditions, other religions are practicing, meaning affection-based, you don't penetrate into insights with metta. Well, we do metta not to just feel good, we do metta to break free, as it says in the Karaniya Metta Sutta. If you practice it well, fully, you will never enter another mother's womb ever again. You will never be reborn. You will not find that anywhere in any of the other religions or traditions that based on love, love, love. You won't find that because the time will come. Because, let me say that also. Because of you refining your thoughts, thanks to the affectionate type of metta, without penetrating, you still benefit. You benefit by a rebirth in one of these realms. And that's what happens to these saints that you see, you hear about. Saints like in Christianity, saints in different religions. They have saints but not the way we understand it as arahats, because they never penetrate through anatta. There isn't that. There isn't an understanding and appreciation of the three characteristics of existence, anicca, dukkha, anatta. That is very visceral, that is personal. So where did all that merit go? The person is reborn in these heavenly realms. But the time runs out and they come back to this realm. Many of them keep going back and forth like a seesaw. Ooh, 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 ooh. That's why when a person says, Bhante, I like Buddhism, but I like to just love. I just love to love. I just love. It's like a very new agey thing, you know. Like, okay, you haven't grown much since 7, I see. 7 years old, like you're stuck. You have to penetrate. You have to look at dukkha straight in the eye and see what's happening, not someone else's dukkha. And see how you can use metta to understand when the dukkha is happening to you. And penetrate layer by layer when the mind starts to not become agitated as before, which means the mind is now tranquil. You're experiencing samadhi. And you're practicing sila. Well, what comes after sila samadhi? Panya. Well, that is insight. That is when you go, whoa, I've never seen that. Whoa, I've never seen that. So every few moments you have an insight. That changes the very fabric of your personality. You're no longer just practicing, may I be happy, may I be happy, may I be happy. No longer. It's deep. That's why you will never come back. Unlike some saints, even in Buddhism, you have in Mahayana, people who practice that. Bodhicharya avatar, what was his, one of the, Shantideva, who was a very, very famous Mahayana teacher, in fact. He wrote a book called Bodhicharya Avatara. Bodhicharya? I think so. And in it, you look at it, it breaks your heart. When I first read it, it sounded very much like a Christian saint's writing that I had seen. And it was from the same time period, around medieval times. So when you have that kind of an approach, and I'm looking for the Dhamma there, I didn't see any Dhamma. I saw a lot of the language that you would see in different traditions, different religions, in fact. So a person like that, if they live truthfully to that emotionality, they might be reborn in the heavenly realms. Yes, Lord Buddha did not say no. But when the merits of that way of thinking and living even run out, you will fall out. Dana has to be penetrated. It is far deeper than what we attribute to it. That's what Lord Buddha is saying. Further, Sariputta, consider someone else who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future. Nor does he reason to himself, giving and generosity was something practiced by my parents and forefathers. Therefore, I should not abandon this old family tradition. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, I can buy, I can cook, I can prepare food, whereas these people are unable to. Therefore, it would not be right for me, who is able to do these things, to not give and offer food to them. Maybe you have a stove, maybe you have a kitchen, maybe you have a refrigerator, maybe you have food in the refrigerator, but they don't. So now you're seeing more of a metta in the heart, in the person. Now there is more karuna developing. You can tell when there is karuna or metta that we're talking about the rupa lokas, Brahma. These are Brahma Vihara, the four. Metta, karuna, mudita, upekkha. So when a person is developing these sublime qualities in your heart, when you die, well, I don't want to give it up yet, so let's see how Lord Buddha says it. In this way, he makes offerings of foods and drinks to recluses and religious practitioners, in addition to providing them with clothing, carriages, etc., but without his heart being bound up with any expectations of accumulating any rewards. Well, I bought this Bhante a new kuti. I bought this Bhante, I don't know, food for the rest of his life or something, even though it's wonderful. But where are your expectations? Do you have any expectations? Now, Sariputta, do you know of situations where people make such offerings? Yes, Bhante. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future, nor does he reason to himself, giving, etc., that thing. And then he says, instead, he makes offerings while thinking, I can buy, cook, and prepare food, whereas these people, these bhikkhus, are unable to. Therefore, it would not be right for me, who is able to do all these things, to not give and offer food to them. Then, at the breakup of the body, after death, they are reborn in the various deva realms. But at the expiration of the merits of the kamma of those gifts, when the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they come back to this realm. So they return. Now, sovereignty, because many of these gods, because they have such a sublime position, a powerful position, initially when they reappear in these realms, they are in a shock. Because less than 5 seconds ago, they were dying in bed, in a hospital, in a small cottage, in the field, or in the human body that's all weak and wearied and exhausted and eroded. Suddenly, they are in this luminous body, big, powerful, beautiful, smelling nice. And in many cases, as you go higher, especially from Tavatin sign up, there are other gods bowing down to you. You go like, what happened? Is this who's playing tricks on me? What is this? This is let me rub my eyes and wake up from this dream. What is this? So it's shocking because it is not the same as you would when you are born into a human body. Because as a human baby, you don't recall most of the things that are happening. You don't remember, you don't realize, you're not conscious most of the time. But as a deva, that's why we say rebirth, but oftentimes we call it reappearance in the suttas. It's reappearing in these realms, not just rebirth. Now, if you've been living like that for a few billion years, and then the time comes for you to leave that body, again, it's going to be a shock, a big shock. Sometimes individuals, even as children, it would still last. Let's say at 7, they look around and they say, what is this? They walk around like a royalty, a child, even though they were in diapers in the beginning. And now they're struggling with learning their alphabet, they're walking, this, that, and people telling them what to do. They were gods. They were commanding parts of the universe. And now they are little children that no one pays attention to. So slowly, slowly, the identification changes. Do you see what Lord Buddha is trying to say about atta, the self-identity, and how we must get out of these 31 realms? Because in all of these, pretty much, there's the sense of identity that is there with us. So it's just a matter of time for you to get acclimated and get used to that position. Oh, I'm a god. There was one bhikkhu I mentioned in different talks. He was doing chankama, walking meditation. He was not sotapanna yet, but he was really hardworking and really dedicated to the practice. And as it goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, he's so exhausted, he's not even eating. He doesn't rest. Finally, one day, he's leaning against a post. As he's walking, he says, okay, let me take a rest here. Just as he closes his eyes, he dies. And he is immediately reborn in one of the Deva realms. Now, he lands there without his chivara, without his robes. He's not bald-headed like me. He's not a bhikkhu anymore. He is a god. Now, the other beings in that area, in that realm that he landed, it's a palace. And now, instead of him leaning against a wooden post, he's leaning against his golden, diamond-crusted gate. His maids, his wives, or his maids, whatever, his supporters, his assistants, see him. Our Lord is back, our Lord is back. And they rush towards him. They're touching him, they're hugging him, they're all, Jesus, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? He's still thinking that he's a bhikkhu. What is this? What is this? Is this Mara? Is this Mara? This must be Mara tricking me. And the maidens realize what's happening. They pull away. They say, oh, our Lord must have been a bhikkhu. He's not realizing, as if he just landed. So there's the shock. And just to kind of wrap up that story quickly, excuse me, he becomes very depressed. He says, what have I done? I am stuck in the 31 layers of existence. I did not become an arahant. I have wasted a life as a bhikkhu. At that moment, he has the wish to go back to Lord Buddha, to see Lord Buddha. And if you're a god, you can travel easily. Unlike us, you have to go through security checks and get visas, this and that. You don't need that when you're a deva. You don't have to get on a plane. So immediately he comes back to, I believe it was Savatthi, Lord Buddha was there, and he bows down to Lord Buddha, and he says, Bhante, what have I done? He says, yes, you are reborn as a god. He says, but Bhante, I wanted to become at least a Sotapanna. What am I going to do? And he says, you can still attain Sotapatti. Devas and humans can attain Arachya. Sakka was a Putujjana. But the moment came for him to evacuate his post, his CEO position, he freaked out. He was worried. He looked around for Lord Buddha. He came and listened, practiced, until he became a Sotapanna. Sakka, the king of the gods of Tavatimsa. So the same thing with this ex-bhikkhu, who's now a god, he also attained Sotapatti. And then he says, Bhante, thank you, because Lord Buddha gives him a gradual teaching specifically for his brain, for his mind level of understanding. So 31 layers, we shouldn't look upon them as an escape. As Buddhists, we shouldn't. Other traditions, they dream about this. They dream about going to heaven and sitting next to gods and this and that. We run away from this. This is crazy because you're still stuck in suffering. That's why when people say all religions are the same, including, I've heard from Buddhist teachers say that, that is completely non-Buddhist. That's completely wrong. The Dhamma is incomparable, Lord Buddha says. You cannot compare it to anything. It is so powerful, it is so unique that other beings from different universes come to listen. Further, Sariputta, consider someone else, this is number 5, else who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future, nor does he reason to himself, I can buy, cook, and prepare food, whereas these people are unable to. Therefore, it would not be right for me, who is able to do these things, to not give and offer, food to them. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, just like great sacrifices and offerings were made to ancient sages such as Attaka, Vamaka, Vamadeva, Vesamita, Yamataggi, Angirasa, Bharadvaja, Vasetha, Kassapa, and Bhagu. In the same manner, I too, these are very well famous sages, rishis that you find in the Vedas. And remember, many of the bhikkhus were ex-Brahmin. So they know everything there is to know about these sages, and they hold them in such high regard. So that's why Lord Buddha is referring to them. So in the same manner, I too now am making offerings and sharing what I have. In this way, this is very similar to when I try to explain to people who are stuck in the, they want to understand more about Dāna, and they are not feeling the warmth that one needs to feel to really benefit from the Dāna giving. I tell them, can you imagine giving the gift to Lord Buddha himself? Imagine him alive. And instead of this bhikkhu or some other bhikkhu, forget about us, as if you're giving it to Lord Buddha. Sometimes people have started crying with joy because that did it for them. It pulled them out from being jaded. And that's what I always encourage people to do. Let's say when you have a person, especially monastic, and you offer them a glass of water or a chair or a mat, don't see that person, meaning don't look at them as that person. Can you see Lord Buddha himself? Can you allow yourself to see Lord Buddha? Not in a chair, not in a statue, but only there for you. How would you behave around Lord Buddha? Would you allow yourself to be thinking the thoughts that you're thinking as you're giving the cup of water? Or you're saying, oh oh, it's Lord Buddha. This is it. So that brings up, engenders a special quality in your heart. And when you're sitting to meditate, don't think that you're just meditating to push your way through. No. Imagine Lord Buddha is sitting in front of you, and you're sitting at his feet, and he's watching over you. And you're not trying to impress anyone. That's another form of dāna that you're doing for your own progress. So he does all these gifts, but without his heart being bound up with any expectations of accumulating any rewards. Now, Sariputta, do you know of situations where people make such offerings? Yes, Bhante. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future, nor does he reason to himself, I can buy, cook, etc. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, just like great sacrifices and offerings were made to ancient sages, such as Attaka, Vamaka, Vamadeva, Vissamita, Yamataggi, Angirasa, Bharadvaja, Vasetha, Kassapa, and Bhagu. In the same manner, I too now am making offerings and sharing what I have. Especially if you're making an offering or a gift, you're giving a gift to a homeless person or someone weak. See, last year it happened where I witnessed a situation where a person who was making an offering valued the offering of things to a person in robes, a bhikkhu, versus offering something to someone who was in need, a poor person, a homeless person, or a sick person. I had to really explain to them very quickly how that is wrong. Because we have also been traditionally taught that no, if you want to gain most merits, you have to give it to a monastic, to an ordained person. That is very dangerous because it kills within you the growth possibility, and it kills the potential for the dāna to really be fruitful. So don't think about, well, let's see the status, because it happened at the time of Lord Buddha. There was a rich couple who decided one day to offer food to bhikkhus. Not just any bhikkhus. They wanted to offer them to arahant bhikkhus. Okay, or monastics. To arahants, they said. Well, they thought arahants, old this, oh, Bhante Sariputta, Bhante Mahamoggallana, Bhante Anuruddha, Bhante Mahakassapa. Aha, those are bhikkhus. Those are the ones I should give donation to or give dāna to. So they come and they say to, I think Venerable Ananda is the one at that moment in the monastery. So they ask, could you send us 4 arahants? Imagine you go to the monastery today and you say to the abbot, oh, Bhante, could you send us 4 arahants? That's how common it was, I guess. And Venerable Ananda says, very well. So when it's around lunchtime, he looks upon these 4 novices, samanera, young, some of them 7 years old, another 10, another 14. They're not bhikkhus, but they're shaved, they're kids. So he says, go to this house. So they go, 4 of them. Lord Buddha knew, the monks knew, whoever in the inner circle, if you will, of Lord Buddha's knew these were not mere monastics. They were arahants, fully awakened. She asked for arahants, she's getting arahants. So they go and they wait. And she looks at them, the husband looks at them, the maids look at them, they're like, what are these kids doing here? Who is this? What is Venerable Ananda thinking? This is an insult. So they don't offer them food, but they're sitting there. But they're embarrassed. They can't kick them out. So she gets her boy, the servant, and sends it back to the monastery and says, Bhante, send us bhikkhus, bhikkhu arahats, bhikkhus for lunch. So Venerable Ananda looks around and he sees Venerable Sariputta and Venerable Mahāpphala, and they're about to go on their Pindapada. And he says, oh, Avuso, friends, don't go to Pindapada in the city, go to this person's house. They say, okay. So they go there. They walk in and they see these 4 young arahants. And they also look at the food being offered. And they see that this is not enough food. I think Venerable Ananda was there with them. No, he wasn't. So he sees they see the table and they see there's not enough food for 6 monks. So they cordially, just respectfully retire and leave and go to their Pindapada. And now the person is completely confused, the hostess and her husband. So meanwhile, Sakka, the king of the gods, is watching this very carefully. And he sees that the lunchtime was getting past. And these kids, if they don't eat, they're going to suffer. They're not kids, they're arahants. Immediately, how can they convince, because Venerable Sariputta or Mahāpphala were not going to tell the lady, hey, these are arahants. It's inappropriate for us to claim, who is what, until they die, usually after, posthumously, usually. But Sakka sees this, so now he materializes in that house and in front of the 4 young novice monks. And he bows to them with his glory. And the lady of the house is shaking. Sees this, she bows down too. Now she sees who have her guests been all this time that she was not offering food. Quickly, with shaking hands and so much gratitude, she puts food in their bowls. So don't be confused. Don't be betrayed by your thoughts as to who is the one deserving. I once was made witness to a situation where people were asking, well, who has the more vasas? Who has the more vasas so I can offer them first? Or offer them only? These are not so healthy ways of thinking. Follow your heart. Give it to the person that you feel really pulled. Even if I'm standing and a homeless person is standing there, sitting there in dirt, I'm not going to die if I don't eat one day, I'm a big guy. I've eaten enough. So the other person, but they might never get the chance of being given such delicious food. Good warm rice, good curry, good something, good watermelon. They might not have gotten any watermelon for years. So the bhikkhu is not going to die if you don't give him that. Give it to the homeless, it's okay. Then at the breakup of the body, after death, they are reborn in the various deva realms. But at the expiration of the merits of the karma of those gifts, when the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they come back to this realm again. So, number 6. Further, Sariputta, consider someone else who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future. Nor does he reason to himself, just like great sacrifices and offerings were made to ancient sages, as those rishis, I too now am making offerings. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, by giving this gift, may my heart become tranquil and calm. Now, this is different. May my heart become calm and tranquil as I'm making this gift. As I experience much happiness and joy, now we are getting closer to the main juicy part of Dāna. In this way, he makes offerings of food and drinks to recluses and religious practitioners, in addition to providing them with clothing, carriages, flower garlands, incense, ointments, beds, lodgings, and oil lamps, but without his heart being bound up with any expectations of accumulating any rewards. Now, Sariputta, do you know of situations where people make such offerings? Yes, Bhante. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, so there's a repetition. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, by giving this gift, may my heart become tranquil and calm as I experience much happiness and joy. What Lord Buddha is saying, they're experiencing the Satta Bojjhangas, the 7 factors of awakening. Then at the breakup of the body, after death, they are reborn in the various Deva realms. But at the expiration of the merits of the Kamma of those gifts, when the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they come back to this realm. Now, it sounds and it reads just like the others, but in this case, the person is going deeper in their own development, their spiritual, mental, emotional development. The person is not going to land in a place where there is no Dhamma or people practicing the Dhamma, some form of it. But this is not the finish line, because Lord Buddha is keeping us with number 7 that's coming up right next. Because they all, if you notice, build one upon each other. You can't change from black to white all of a sudden. It has many gradients, many shades. Further, Sariputta, consider someone else who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of an investment, neither expecting rewards or a hefty return for the gifts he has made for him to enjoy in the future. Nor does he reason to himself, by giving this gift, may my heart become tranquil and calm as I experience much happiness and joy. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, giving itself is a wonderful adornment of the heart, a lovely way to embellish and beautify the heart. This is as far as the English language at my usage could give, because Pali is a lot more beautiful, but the experiencing of this is even more beautiful, of a person who's living in that state of mind where they're joyous and they're now really enjoying even before giving the gift. There was an old man, I've mentioned him in several talks over the years, a man and a woman, a husband and wife, and they only had one shirt. Remember? Only one shirt that they would exchange. They had nothing else. The husband would wear it one part of the day to go and work to make enough money to get a piece of bread. And then the other half of the day, the wife would wear it. So they were naked. They didn't have money to buy a piece of cloth to tie, to make it, to robe. When Lord Buddha comes to their village, and they're very devout. They're very devout. They live with Dhamma and Sila. When Lord Buddha comes to their town, now they both want to go to listen to Dhamma talks. So they decide to, you know what, half the day you go, the other half I go. So in the morning, because it's daytime, it's more appropriate for the wife to be outside. She wears the robe, the cloth, the shirt, and it doesn't even cover the whole body. So she goes and listens to a few hours of Dhamma Desana, and then she's completely happy and joyful. And she comes home, quickly takes off the robe, hands it, puts it on him, and now he runs outside to go to the temple, to the monastery, to listen to Lord Buddha give a talk. So one night he's there, and the king is there too. I forgot if it was King Pasenadi or King Bimbisara. So he's there, he's listening to Lord Buddha talk, and he's completely listening with his heart. And then he realizes, because Lord Buddha is talking about Dāna. Lord Buddha never gave a talk without the intention of having the listeners, at least one, to attain a high level of awakening. At the very least, a Sotapanna. But he also saw the mind. I don't believe it was Suppa Buddha, the name of the poor person, but let's call him that. And he sees the mind of this person captivated by the fear that what happens if I lose the shirt? We can't go outside naked. They will arrest us. But I want to give something to Lord Buddha, he says. I want to give. And he says, but I have nothing. He says, I have the shirt. But then suddenly his mind, the cognitive brain kicks in, the doubt, skeptical doubt, Vichikicha comes in and says, you can't. Because your wife, you haven't discussed this with her. This is your joint possession. This is also belonging to her. He says, my wife loves the Dhamma just as much as I do. In fact, if she were here, she would give the robe. And at that moment, he has so much confidence. He takes off his robe, folds it gently, beautifully, this dirty, probably, shirt. And naked now, he approaches Lord Buddha and places it in front of him and says, with so much joy and tears in his eyes, he says, I have conquered. And he falls in sobbing joyfully. And Lord Buddha smiled. Now the king is watching this. He's like, what is this? What is he conquered? What is this? He's naked, he's dirty. He says to his soldiers, generals, go find out who this person is. Lord Buddha knew who he is. And they come back and they say, Lord, to the king, you don't believe what this guy did. He gave the only possession they had. He's like, really? Yeah. He was moved by the talk on Dāna by Lord Buddha so much that he gave the only possession that they had that was also the source of money and food on the table. Because of that robe, they could go outside and earn money. Now he doesn't have that. So he had all that fear to work against. That mountain of fear. And then we look at our lives. Because of this fear, that fear, no, I'm not going to go to the Dhamma talk. Or no. Why? Because it's football this season, or we're going to watch this. He gave everything, literally. And the king sees this. And he calls his men over and he says, take this man back to his house. Take him and his wife. Take them straight to the palace. Wash them, cover them in oils, treat them like kings. And I want him tomorrow morning to be in my court as my chief financial advisor. He made him a CFO because this man does not have any idea of taking anything. He gives. He was a Sotapanna. Now, that is the kind of joy that Lord Buddha is talking about. That kind of a joy is impossible for you to be kept. If you have that kind of a joy when you're giving, it's impossible for you to remain in the 31 layers of existence for too long. In this way, he makes offerings of food and drinks to recluses and religious practitioners, in addition to providing them with clothing, carriages, etc., but without his heart being bound up with any expectations of accumulating any rewards. Now, Sariputta, do you know situations where people make such offerings? Yes, Bhante. Probably Venerable Sariputta was there when he saw this happen. That's why he was like, yes, Bhante. Now, Sariputta, someone who makes offerings, but he too does not treat it as some kind of investment, neither expecting rewards, etc. Instead, he makes offerings while thinking, giving itself is a wonderful adornment of the heart, a lovely way to embellish and beautify the heart. Then at the breakup of the body, after death, they are reborn in the company of the Brahma gods, in the heavenly realms. But at the expiration of the merits of the kamma of those gifts, when the power, fame, and sovereignty of those actions are exhausted, they become non-returners, anagami, never to return back to this realm ever again. Therefore, Sariputta, these are the reasons, the causes and conditions where a gift offered by someone would turn out to be without much benefit at all, proving itself fruitless, whereas when a gift of a similar value is offered by someone else, results in the highest benefits, becoming a great fruitful gift. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. A beautiful sutta, as you can see. And not to get too deep into it, just to give you an idea, the 31 layers of existence also include within them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 realms where only anagamis can be reborn into, reappear into. They are called the Suddhavasa realms. What later Mahayana tradition came and called pure land. And then you develop pure land Buddhism and things like that. Well, they misunderstood the meaning. You cannot be reborn there, just like anyone. Not anyone can be reborn there. You need to have certain requirements. The 5 lower fetters have to be destroyed in you. The 5 lower fetters. The idea of the belief, the conviction that I have an independent self, sakkaya ditthi. Doubt towards the Dhamma has to be eradicated, completely removed. That is vicikicca, that is the doubt. The other one is relying on silabbata paramasa, which is the rites and rituals. I have to do it this way, I have to chant this way, I have to chant this many hours. No chanting will ever turn you into an arahant, okay? What will turn you into an arahant or an anagami is you doing your work to cut yourself from relying on these superficial things. You benefit from the chanting. You benefit from going on a pilgrimage, but you're doing your work in the background every day. That is what's going to get you into becoming an anagami. Then you have the other two, right? Which is the craving, the strong lust, the raga, tanha. That's the other fetter. And then you have the anger, vatigha, the revulsion. When someone makes you angry, you become hateful. That doesn't exist in you anymore. That means you dropped the 5 lower fetters and you only have the 5 higher fetters. That makes you even higher than the gods. So just to point at the camera for the listeners on participants in Zoom. Oh, you can't see it from there. So Wichi, could you please point at number 23? 20, yes. And so that's Aviha realm. Then you have Attapa, which is 24. Then you have Suddhasa, then Suddhasi, and then Akanita. Those in the yellow box, you have it also in Chinese and in English. Suddhavasa, it is accessible, it says, only to non-returners, anagami, and arahants. Now, that arahant part it's kind of questionable, but beings who become non-returners in other planes or spheres are reborn here, where they attain arahantship. So, thank you, Wichi. So what it is basically I think I heard once a person say they have a special permit, these realms, like I call it visa. They have the only visa carrying members of these realms are anagamis. Can you become an anagami? Of course. Are you alive in this life? Are you listening to the Dhamma? Of course you can. These are not people that we only come across in the suttas. Please remember that. The Sotapanna, the Sakadagami, the Anagami. I have never met an Arahant in this life yet. Unfortunately, I was about to meet one Arahant, but I didn't have the necessary merits, I think, to see him. And my path was blocked. But I have met an Anagami, I have met Sakadagamis, and I have met Sotapannas. So these are real. Please don't put them into the suttas and say they are there. They cannot come and join my life. Why not? If you have the Dhamma in your life right now, you're hearing this, that's enough of a proof that this is still there, it exists. So please be mindful of this. And I will stop here and open to any questions and comments you might have. Don't be shy.
Can you rehash again the 7?
Hmm.
The first one is with investment in mind.
The way I see it is not 7, I see 2. Personally, when I read this, because I see very slight changes, very slight differences between the two. I see one camp, yes, looking at it as an investment, but also something that I am doing for those people, you know, except for the last one. That's how I see it, because for me is, show me the one where I will no longer come back to this world category. That's how I'm trying to say I see 2. But if you recall number 6, he also or she also was filled with joy. But it wasn't deep. It had not turned into Satta Bojjhangas, the 7 factors of awakening. Remember last year when we did the 3-day retreat? I went over the Satta Bojjhangas. It's available online. I think you were also, might have been there, the others. But the Satta Bojjhangas, the 7 factors of awakening, if you're not familiar with them, they are necessary ingredients for Nibbana. You cannot attain Nibbana without the Satta Bojjhangas. Lord Buddha was very clear on this. Now, does that mean you have to go and practice for years only the Satta Bojjhangas? No, they are part of the practice. When I say joy, when I say, can you smile? What I'm trying to give you is a clue, the thread that will get you the rope, the bigger and thicker rope of joy, which is piti, which is one of the Bojjhangas. So, sati is the first one, Dhamma Vichaya is second. Sati is mindfulness, Dhamma Vichaya is the investigation of the different states of mind you go through. Then you have Virya, the energy that you need to maintain that, to maintain mindfulness, to maintain investigation. Excuse me. Because of these 3, they're also called the activating type of Bojjhangas. Then you get to number 4, which is piti, which is the joy, which is the key ingredient of giving dana. So before you offer anything to anyone, before you even get in your car to drive to the place, if it's something like food you're preparing, as you're preparing, check with yourself, do I have joy while I'm preparing this? Or even before you prepare it at home in the kitchen, how about in the grocery store when you're buying this? You're buying the rice, you're buying this. As if you're the one who's going to receive it, or as if you're going to give it to Lord Buddha himself. This changes the routine, which is part of the 7. So the first one is investment, yes. Second, you see how it is more of a family tradition. Third is basically like you're doing this for almost like a favor. Fourth, we're getting closer and closer to, well, it's nice. It's nice to give, but it's not deep enough yet for the person. 5, you're getting to like, well, at least I can cook, they can't cook. So now you're using logic to justify dana. Still, it's very, see, I'm now looking at it as a psychologist, psychotherapist. I'm looking at it in a relational sense and also, well, what's going on? Justification. Anytime you buy something, you must have reasons for it. You come up with reasons. I know in marketing, years ago, they figured out that if you get a person to emotionally connect with it, there's an emotional need, they will buy it. Go anywhere, any salesman, salesperson, if they're going to sell you anything, in order for them to have a successful sale, they have to convince you that this is something that you need versus want. In order for you to need something, you must have some emotional tie to it. That's why you have car commercials where they say, a car to fall in love with. A car to fall in love with. It's tires made of rubber, metal, plastic, fiberglass. It's not even living. What are you talking about? Love. It's not even a plant. But we don't calculate, we don't analyze these things. Oh, I love this color. What is that? I love this clothing. I love this outfit. I love going to the beach. I love doing this. I love. That means you have tied yourself up emotionally. So here we're going to 5, 6, not 6, but 5 already. You see that there is more of what I said earlier. There is like compassion even coming in. Well, come on. They can't cook. They don't have the ability. You know, so let me cook. It's okay. I'm not doing it every day, every hour. So already now the opening of the heart is taking place. So you're using logic, but to enter the heart, which is good. I was telling someone the other day that the most difficult, arduous journey is very short. It's less than, well, it's only a few centimeters. The journey from the head to the heart. How many centimeters is that? 30, maybe less. 1, 2, 3, you know? But we have the hardest time. We believe this more than we believe this, the heart. So when you're making offerings, see if you're coming from here. It's still good. You're making an offering. You're still benefiting. You're going to, if you want to be in a better situation. And Lord Buddha only talked about, if you notice, what happens after death. But there's also what you feel now after the fact that you offered something. So that is almost an immediate effect of giving dana. So that also is important to consider. So I say this because you don't need to wait until you die to gain the merits of what you've done. Sometimes they will come already, start coming in while you're alive. You know? Does that answer your question? Yes. The ones who are encouraging you to give? Yeah. Somebody else, yeah, to encourage somebody else to give. Of course, because then you're like, you know, I was talking about earlier, what is Buddhism, Dhamma, to someone who doesn't know. One is, you know, do something that you like to be done to you, and don't do things that you don't want to be done to you, and purify the mind. So let's say someone encourages someone to to do a crime. Hey, go rob that bank. You need a car. You don't have money. Go rob the bank. that is akusala. But what you're describing is, hey, come on, it's good to give. What are you going to die with billions of dollars? You're not going to take your name with you. Not even your name. I was telling this to a family member last year. You work and work and work and work and work. You have money. Okay, fine. You're going to die. Oh, don't say that. Well, you're going to. Is there a secret? You're not going to die. Everyone's going to die. I'm going to die. But when you die, where is all this money going to go? You're going to leave behind. So that becomes a kusala version of inducing something good to happen, at the very least. So, and plus, when you, even if you, let's say you are donating, you're giving something to someone, and you're showing to your friend. Sometimes you take your friend to a place, or your friend is next to you when you're offering something. I would remember years ago when I was a layman, you would go to dinner at night to a restaurant, and sometimes we would order too much food, or it comes too big, and you can't finish it, so we do takeaway, or doggy bag, we call it. But they would have it there, even though you love to eat this, and you're imagining, oh, tomorrow this would be great lunch. You have the bag, this and that, and you walk outside, and there's a homeless person. Part of the brain says, no, don't look, give them $5, let's go, but not this food. Why not? Am I going to starve tomorrow if I give this to them? So you give that person maybe the $5 to also, and then you walk away, and the person doesn't know what to do. They're like, that's why they were sitting by the restaurant. They were hungry. They were hoping for something to fall from the edges of your table, some crumbs. But now the person next to you sees that, even if they didn't have a bag to give, but they also are going to be inspired by you. Even when you don't say a thing, especially when they see how joyful you became. So there's these things that are influenced. You don't have to convince people with words all the time. Action delivers a stronger punch, as they say, a more powerful impact. I think there was a question here from Zoom. Thank you for this wonderful session. Oh, there's one from Upatissa too. Thanks very much, Bhante. Could you please get questioners to speak up? We could not get the questions at all. I see. Yes, we could have used the mic. Thank you for that, Upatissa. The first question, just recap, was Brother Wichi asking about, can I list the 7 qualities of the Dāna that Lord Buddha talked about? Can I abbreviate in a concise manner? So that's what I was answering. And Brother Seng asked about, could I say a few words about how to convince someone to do Dāna? And I was giving my thoughts on, sharing my thoughts on, you can do it verbally, and it's the opposite version of someone convincing someone to do a crime. When they say, oh, that's a good car, we should go get it. Or, that boss of yours, he doesn't know what he's doing. If you go, or that coworker, you should do this so that you can get, and they're getting better pay than you. So if you do this and that, you can outsmart them and then really shine in front of your boss, and you can get that job. That's still akusala, because you put evil thoughts in the mind of someone. That is also in the understanding of Dhamma, that is completely akusala. So that would be the opposite of someone encouraging another person to give Dāna. So is there a benefit to help someone to give Dāna? That was the crux of the question. Okay, so I think that, does that answer your question, Upatissa? Okay. Sophie has a question. Bhante, thank you for this wonderful session. I have a question. How can I get pleasure, for example, cooking dinner, if I have no emotion to that process? Cooking dinner for you? If you don't have anyone to give to yourself. Yes. That's what I try to convince you to smile to yourself before you leave the house. Have a small mirror. Even if you have a phone, look at yourself. Do you look miserable? Do you really want to expose that ugly, mad-looking face to the world? No. I want to show them a beautiful, smiling face. Ah, this is changing everything, right? When you smile, people around you will bring down their guards. See, when you smile, you show the world several things. You show the world happiness, what happiness looks like. Today, whenever I travel, I see people always like agitated, nervous, afraid. Everybody's looking over like this, what's going to happen? It's like we're like rats in a cage. This is not healthy. This is crazy. So when you're smiling to someone and you don't want anything from them, they look at you and you're smiling still, and you're not crazy. You're showing them happiness. That's one. You are also showing them acceptance. You accept them, which makes anyone feel good. Third, you're showing confidence. I don't care what's happening around me. Yes, I know I just stepped on a dog poop. I'm walking, I'm not looking, and I just stepped on, a cow dung or something, and my foot smells, and it looks ugly. But guess what? That's okay. I'm smiling because that's lower than me. I'm over here. For example, you smile, and that shows confidence. So these are a few of the things that you can show by simply accepting yourself through a smile. Now, when you are cooking, you must be able to taste your food first. That's why you have to put your metta in your food first. That's why you must see your own smile in the morning first before you show your face to anyone else. So greet yourself with a smile. When you look at the Lord Buddha's statue, you can't be like, no, they would run away from you. What is that? You're not doing a favor. So you have to do it with a smile. But first, before you say your greeting to Lord Buddha, you give yourself greeting. Show appreciation that, wow, I woke up today. I still have one more day. Yes. So how am I going to live that day? So you have introduced yourself more and more into joyous being. Then you take that to every aspect of your life as much as you can, especially cooking or food. So when you're making if you put some bread or whatever you're making, a banana and a coffee, whatever it is, peel that banana with so much appreciation. Look at the banana, smell the banana. Wow, this banana came from such a long way. People cultivated this. People had to cut it from the tree. People had to carefully bring it down. They had to put it in a car, truck, this, that, sell it, negotiate the price, and then finally I find it or somebody finds it and brings it to my table, and they put it there with so much love, and now I have it. Take that. Oh, look at this. It's a small banana, big banana, it doesn't matter. And that is life. Life is passing through the banana to me, so I have more energy now to live one more day. When you drink your tea or coffee, smell it. Oh, look, somebody had to make this cup. Wow. It's not broken. I can handle it. All these things. So you're showing appreciation. So similarly, when you're cooking, try to cook the meal as if you're cooking to Lord Buddha. Can you do that? Imagine. We have so many examples, and Imagine you give offering to an arahant. Wow. All of a sudden, you're going to cook so much better food. So there's so much joy that flows out at that time. So I hope that answers your question. Oh, there's a follow-up question. Does that mean that having emotions is not has not been affected to that food? Oh, no, emotions are good. They're not bad things. That's what metta is. So when you're cooking the food or you're giving the even if it's you're not touching the inside, let's say water, you pour it and you offer it, your thoughts and your feelings go into that. Do you know that? They've done experiments. Professor Ono, I think his last name was, he passed away from Japan. He was the one who discovered how to take pictures of water crystals in a special environment, yes? And he was surprised beyond belief. When I saw the documentary years ago, over 25 years ago, my brain had a hard time understanding how a word, you write the word, let's say, he did this experiment. So he wrote the words, I love you, and put it on water and put it in a freezer. He put another label and said, I hate you, in another cup, same type of water, same place, picked up this and that. And then they had all kinds of, I appreciate you, or even sometimes the word love. And then they took out samples of each of the cups. They said, this is the I love you cup. And they looked under a special electron microscope and they saw so much organization. Molecular structure of the water crystals were beautiful compared to I hate you. They look at the sample from the cup that said the label, I hate you, and they saw all kinds of weird structures. So your words, I'm not even talking about your thinking or your feeling, are so powerful. And in the documentary, it said, imagine a cup of water is being influenced that much. How about our bodies when we are over 76, 78% water? We are mostly water, despite the fact that we have bones. And every day we are being hit, bombarded with words like threat, like war, like famine, like virus, like death, sickness, worry. You turn on the news, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's wearing masks, everybody's afraid, all around the world. Everybody's afraid. What does that do to the water? Poison. And then we look around and we see loved ones getting sick and dying. I wonder why. Because our thoughts are killing us. So when I say metta is what the world needs today, I mean that. Our thinking has to change. We must give ourselves relaxation and love. There's so much worry that we carry inside, in every single cell. So, of course, your emotions will impact the food. And guess what? The people who taste your food will taste your metta. When I was a layman, I used to cook a lot. And, you know, I used to live alone. I used to live like a monk for many years. But I like to invite friends to dinner. I've never had anyone complain about the food, because I would feel how they would feel. I would imagine to myself, you know, oh, they've never had this. They like this type of food. Oh, they've told me once they like this. And I went and looked and I found this vegetable or this type of product. And now I'm making it. They're going to be surprised. And I would make the food, this and that. It would take me the whole day. But it's like every minute they are tasting it in front of me and I'm witnessing it. So that gives you the joy that Lord Buddha is talking about. So again, learn to give dana to each other. Don't think dana only happens to a bhikkhu, to a monastery, to a temple, to on a special uposatha day. No. No, 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 no. Learn to give each other gifts. All the time. Loved ones. Even people you don't know on the street. And that's how we can turn this Mara Loka, I call it, because this realm belongs to Mara, to a Brahma Loka, even before you go there. Make sense? Any other thoughts, questions? Yes.
So if in case I don't know that people is a good or bad, so we still offering support them, it's like we're supporting bad people be bad.
In case you haven't heard, I forgot your name, Alan? Frederick, sorry, long way from Alan. Brother Frederick was mentioning how he has heard that offering dana to the wrong people is bad karma, who might be, let's say, correct me if I'm wrong, who might have bad intentions, and I'm supporting them. So in essence, you would share in the bad karma in a sense. Does that? Okay. That is wrong. That is a wrong statement. If anything, every human being today that is supporting governments is doing just that. Because the money that the governments collect, I know I'm from America, so we pay taxes. Well, guess where those taxes go? To buy weapons and to drop bombs on people, innocent people that we don't even know. So I am participating in the death of people over there. But I have to pay, because if I don't pay taxes, they will arrest me. They will give me more pain now. How you are giving is more important than to whom. That's what I'm trying to say. Please wrap your mind around that. How you are giving is more important than who. There's four kinds of, other than this beautiful sutta, Lord Buddha, other places describe dana in a different way. There's four kinds of dana, basically. You might like that interpretation better, actually. The first kind of dana is when the giver is full of joy, and the person receiving it doesn't care for the gift. That crook, that criminal that you don't know, but you believe that they are a good person and they need money, they need your support, and you give them 100 ringgits, let's say. They look and say, ah, okay, I fooled him. And a few million from these people. So now he's richer and richer, and he goes and buys weapons or drugs or whatever. Where were you in your heart when you offered that money? What was the intention, I'm asking? That is number one. Now, when you are doing the dana right, you will feel extreme joy. That's what this sutta is saying. As if you're receiving it, because you have a belief that this money that you earned with hard work, you're giving to someone to help them. They might have lied to you. They might have been complete liars, but you believe that lie. And for that, you are doing something kusala, something wholesome. That is the first kind, where you are benefiting from the dana completely. All the merits will come to you, not to them. They will only get the 100 ringgits. They will not get these lives. Okay? The second kind of dana is when the giver is giving because they have to. My wife said I have to give that 100 ringgit that I worked for. Otherwise, she won't be happy. I'll give that money just to shut her up, for example. Or my daddy said, give this red envelope to the bhikkhu. Oh, I could use that to buy a toy or something. So the giver is not coming from the right place. But the receiver, they take that, even if it's 1 ringgit, $1, they look and say, how much merit this person is going to make. For example, they become joyful. The receiver now is feeling like $1,000,000. They feel like they're in heaven. But the giver is not. Lord Buddha says the dana completely, the punya, the merits, goes straight to the receiver. This is the second kind. There's the third kind of dana, where neither the giver nor the receiver is coming from a good place. So the person giving says, take it, just give it. You know, or they have to announce it in journals, in magazines, in social network. Today I gave 1,000,000 ringgit to this person. And you have on YouTube, you have so many different people, examples, you know, they go shop for groceries and they go to a homeless person and they put in front and they like take selfies, take video so that they have subscription on YouTube or something. So their heart is not in it. And the receiver also, like, you got me this apple, small apple, how is this apple going to feed me? Okay, yeah, thank you. So both the giver and the receiver are not in the right place. So the action of dana dies right there and then. Nothing comes out other than what was exchanged, the 100 ringgit or the apple, whatever. And then Lord Buddha talks about the fourth kind of dana, the final. And here you have the perfect example of someone really wanting to give with joy, with kindness and compassion and loving thoughts. And the receiver is equally wanting to receive that with so much joy. And Lord Buddha says that makes the dana become countless in its multi-fold of its reward, of its returns, if you think of it like that. Because both people are now so joyous, plus the action, because it goes around and affects others. And it goes from life to life, that beautiful action. So Lord Buddha encouraged us to be number 4. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. If there are no more questions, I will stop because it's been a long time talking. So let's transfer some merits. Akasatha chabumata devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu lokasasanam. Akasatha chabumata devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu desanam. Akasatha chabumata devanaga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakhantu mam paranti. Ettavata cham hehi sambadang punya sampadang samba devanumodantu samba sampati siddhiya. Ettavata cham hehi sambadang punya sampadang sambe bhutanumodantu samba sampati siddhiya. Ettavata cham hehi sambadang punya sampadang sambe sattanumodantu sabba sampati siddhiya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May you be well. May the Triple Gems blessings be upon you and your loved ones. Learn to give first to you, even if it's a smile. Yes. Until next time.